Welcome to the deep dive. You send us stuff, we dig into it.
Yep, we pull out the key insights, the surprising bits, uh, the stuff that makes you think.
Right.
Uh,
Without the homework feel. So this time, we're jumping into something pretty interesting. Cross-cultural differences.
yes, specifically through the eyes of an American woman, Ava, who moved to the Netherlands.
It's based on her YouTube channel, Dutch Americano, and this one video called 5 American Myths I Don't Believe Anymore After Living in the Netherlands.
Okay.
And you, our listener, told us you want these quick insights, different perspectives, those aha moments, but, without getting totally overwhelmed.
Makes sense. So our mission today,
Is to unpack these 5 myths she talks about. Basically, common American beliefs she's kind of reevaluated since moving.
right, beliefs about success, happiness, work,
Yeah.
all that good stuff. It's less about right or wrong, more about seeing those cultural contrasts.
Exactly. So let's dive into the first one. Myth number 1. Success equals moving up the career ladder and making more money.
Ah, yes, the classic American dream narrative almost.
Yeah.
Financial gain is the main benchmark for success.
It really feels like the default setting, doesn't it? This constant push for the next promotion, the bigger salary. Why do you think it's so baked into U.S. culture?
Hmm. That's a big question. Probably a mix of things. History, individualism,
Yeah.
the whole pull yourself up by your bootstraps idea,
Right.
and this strong belief that hard work automatically leads to more money. Ava notes how people often judge success first by, financial status.
Yeah. But then she contrasts it with the Netherlands, and this is where it gets really interesting.
Okay, how so?
Well, she says success there can just mean being really, really good at the job you have, continuously improving.
Ah, so not necessarily climbing, but mastering.
Exactly. And also this huge value placed on time, like choosing to work part-time even when you're not near retirement.
Just to have more personal time.
Yeah. And it's seen as a totally valid, respected choice. It means you might earn less, but that's okay.
That's a significant difference. It
Yeah.
suggests different priorities.
Totally. She even tells the story about someone working in private equity
Okay.
and the Dutch reaction being kind of like, why? Just for the money. It questions that purely profit motive.
Wow. That does speak volumes. Maybe it ties into, I don't know, a stronger social safety net, perhaps?
Yeah.
Less pressure?
Could be. It makes you wonder. Ava herself studied linguistics, she says, for passion, not the paycheck.
Right.
It really makes you pause and think, okay, what is success to me? Am I chasing the right things?
Yeah, it challenges that intense focus on individual financial achievement. The Dutch view sounds maybe more holistic, like work is just one part of life.
A big part, but yeah, not the only part. Okay, moving to myth number 2. You need material things to make you happy.
Ah, consumer culture.
Big time. And Ava points out the sheer amount of advertising in the U.S. compared to what she sees now.
Right, the visual noise, as she kind of describes it, billboards everywhere.
Even for personal injury lawyers, she mentions that.
Yeah. And how visitors from Europe are apparently often struck by it, just how constant it is.
Feels like we tune it out, maybe. But her point is deeper, this underlying idea that buying stuff can fix problems or, bring happiness.
Hmm. The colorful kitchen sponge example she gives is funny but kind of spot on, right?
Totally. Like, this sponge will make washing dishes less of a drag.
Exactly. Marketing, tapping into that desire for an easy fix, that external things fill the internal gaps.
But in the Netherlands, she says, it's just less pervasive advertising.
The example of the Amsterdam Metro being ad-free compared to, say, the New York subway.
Yeah, that paints a real picture.
It suggests a space that isn't constantly telling you you're lacking something, that you need to buy more to be content.
And she connects it to that image, the standard American family, ideal big house, suburbs, multiple cars.
Reflecting that emphasis on material possessions as markers of good life.
Yeah. It definitely ties back to the first myth, doesn't it? The money funds the stuff.
It does. If you question the money success link, you probably also start questioning the stuff happiness link.
Okay, third myth. This one gets debated a lot. Having rights as a worker makes you complacent.
Right, the argument you hear in the U.S. sometimes that strong protections, unions, that sort of thing, it just discourages people from working hard.
Exactly. But Ava explains the Dutch system is quite different. She talks about permanent contracts.
Which are pretty common after an initial fixed term, right? Making it much harder to fire someone compared to the U.S. at-will employment standard.
Much harder. And there's entitlement to severance pay, too. It's a whole different level of job security.
So the American fear, the myth, is that this security just leads to people slacking off.
Yep. becoming complacent.
But Ava pushes back on that.
She does. She basically says, look, you find motivated people and unmotivated people everywhere. The contract type isn't the magic factor.
Right, you can have someone coasting in an at-will job, too.
Totally. And interestingly, she brings up the strength of labor unions in the Netherlands.
Yeah, even PhD students being unionized, that's definitely not the norm in the U.S. Unionizing can be a real battle there.
So this collective power matters. And the Dutch perspective she describes is almost the opposite of the myth.
How so?
That feeling secure, feeling valued, it can actually boost motivation,
Yeah.
make people want to do better work.
So job security as an enabler of good work, not a barrier. That's a fundamentally different philosophy.
Exactly. It views well-being and productivity as linked, not opposed.
Interesting. Okay, myth number 4. This one's sensitive. Diversity, equity, and inclusion. DEI measures mean you're inhibiting hiring based on merit,
Yeah, and Ava is really open here. She says she used to believe this herself.
particularly around affirmative action during college applications, she mentions.
Right. The concern, the myth, is that it leads to diversity hires, choosing someone based on identity over qualifications.
A common criticism you hear in the U.S., that it lowers standards or isn't fair.
But her experience living and working in the Netherlands shifted her view completely.
How does she see it now?
She sees DEI as a way to actively combat systemic bias. You know, the inequalities built up over generations. It's about leveling the playing field, not ignoring merit.
Okay, so the argument is that the playing field isn't level to begin with.
Exactly. And she makes this point that if someone from an underrepresented group reaches the same qualification level, they might have to overcome way more obstacles to get there. So maybe merit includes acknowledging that journey too.
That adds another layer to the definition of merit, doesn't it? Beyond just checking boxes.
Yeah. And she gives a practical example too about the benefits of diverse perspectives.
So, yeah.
Pension regulations in the Netherlands, she says, might have overlooked how they'd impact women because the decision makers maybe weren't diverse enough, didn't have that perspective.
So different viewpoints catch potential blind spots.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Like a team seeing more angles.
Pretty much. Now, she does say DEI isn't, like, universally loved in the Netherlands either,
Right. It's complex everywhere.
but it doesn't seem to be under the same kind of intense political attack as it sometimes is in the U.S.
Gotcha.
And she lands on this really powerful quote for anyone worried about fairness.
What that?
She says, basically, if you benefit from privilege, life is unfair in your favor.
Whoa. Okay. That's definitely something to reflect on. It challenges you to look at your own advantages.
For sure. It reframes the whole fairness debate.
Okay, let's move to the last one. Myth number 5. To be good at your job, you have to sacrifice your private life.
Oh, yeah. This feels very familiar in American work culture, right? Long hours, always being on.
The expectation that dedication means sacrificing personal time, evenings, weekends.
It's almost a badge of honor sometimes, how much you work, how little you sleep.
But Ava says, in the Netherlands, big emphasis on work-life balance.
Huge. She mentions many jobs aren't even a full 40 hours a week, maybe 38 or 36.
Right. And working overtime isn't necessarily seen as heroic or required.
No, it's not the default way to prove you're competent or committed.
So she personally felt that shift.
Yeah, she says she stopped feeling that pressure to, like, stay late just for the sake of staying late, just to show face.
It's about efficiency and results during work hours, maybe, rather than just hours logged.
Seems like it. It points to a culture that genuinely values personal time, family, hobbies, as, you know, essential parts of a good life.
Not just things you squeeze in if you're lucky.
Exactly. Okay, so that's the 5. A whirlwind tour of American assumptions challenged by Dutch reality through Ava's eyes.
Yeah, success isn't just money. Happiness isn't just stuff. Worker rights don't automatically mean laziness.
DEI isn't just about identity over merit, and you don't have to kill yourself working to be good at your job.
It's a really fascinating set of contrasts. Shows how much our environment shapes what we think is normal.
Totally. And hopefully this gives you, the listener, a shortcut to understanding these different cultural takes, maybe spark some surprising thoughts.
Yeah, take a second and think. Did any of these myths particularly resonate? Or maybe challenge something you believed?
Like, how do you define success? How much does stuff matter to your happiness? What's your take on worker rights or DEI?
And that big one,
Oh.
how's your work-life balance really looking?
Right. And maybe here's a final thought to leave you with.
Okay.
Could actually adopting some of these alternative ways of thinking, valuing time more, maybe questioning consumerism, prioritizing balance, could that lead to a more fulfilling life wherever you are?
Something to definitely think about.
Thanks for taking this deep dive with us.